Welcome to Remnant 2's Guide to the Unorthodox. This is a series where I cover obscure weapon interactions in the game and designed builds focused on showing off their full potential. This is episode 1, and today we are covering the Corrupted Nebula. Corrupted Nebula's special ability is to create nanobots upon kills or weak spot hits with its projectiles. Up to 5 nanobots can exist at once and automatically home in on targets, dealing small amounts of damage. Their intended purpose is to be detonated with the weapon's mod, Nano Phase, which does incredibly high damage and applies corrosion. Almost every build I've seen online seems to solely focus on activating Nano Phase, with most showing an outdated version of the game where the nanobots could be detonated multiple times with enough mod regeneration. Instead, I'd like to turn the nanobots themselves into dangerous weapons. What most players may not realize is unlike the regular Nebula's nanoswarm, Corrupted Nebula's nanobots aren't part of the mod. They actually deal ranged damage and count as projectiles from the weapon. Using the combination of the Charged Wounds Mutator, Energized Neck Coil, and maximizing status duration, it transforms even a single nanobot into a lethal tracking bomb, detonating whenever it lands a critical hit. Technically, this isn't the only special combination. Having Summoner as an archetype is expected given Nano Phase benefits from both the mod and explosion damage, but you can also use your summoned minions as a means of generating nanobots by hitting their weak spots or killing them. In practice, it's quite difficult to hit these weak spots during combat, but it can be useful in a few situations, such as preemptively doing it before entering a tough encounter. The build I ended up creating is a Hunter Summoner focused on amplifying ranged crit chance and explosion damage. Since Corrupted Nebula's main weaknesses are acid-resistant foes and enemies without weak spots, I equipped a Wrangler with Skewer 2.0 and the Spellweaver mutated to get Hunter's Mark back a bit faster. Everything else is relatively self-explanatory, though offering Stone will actually proc off the nanobots, making it a bit more versatile. For this particular setup, you don't require a perfect prism for it to function properly, but if you were to build one specifically for this weapon, I'd recommend a setup like this that focuses on ranged damage and uses Power Fantasy as the legendary bonus, since the build already has decent critical chance investment, though Wrecking Ball is also a fair choice. Testing in the field, the nanobots can shred through entire hordes of regular enemies, letting you save nanophase for when an elite or aberration decides to show up. This assumes you get good RNG with the critical chance, but with around 40% crit chance with Hunter's Markup, experiencing duds is very rare. What's more, even though we aren't specifically built for spamming the mod, each neck coil explosion restores a generous amount of mod power to the weapon, resulting in extremely fast recharges in large crowds. The only significant flaw is that these explosions can't create nanobots on kills, but with how dangerous a single one can be, I don't see it as a major concern. In terms of boss fights, anything with an obvious weak spot completely melts after a few nanophase detonations, and any minions they spawn are also quickly eliminated. Any boss without a weak spot is generally harder for the weapon, but still reasonably doable without requiring use of your primary or melee. The only major roadblock for this weapon is Abomination, due to its 50% acid resist and not having its weak spots visible until you break off the armor covering it. It's not impossible to defeat with only Corrupted Nebula and Neck Coil explosions, but it's not worth whatever bragging rights you may think doing it gives you. Overall, it makes for a very functional build that was quite fun to play with. I'd certainly recommend giving it a try, if only because you get to watch a bunch of enemies have sheer heart attacks. And as penance for that joke, I am now going to throw myself in a pit. Really hoping this doesn't become a trend. With that said, thank you for watching. More build videos will be coming, though if there is any weapon in particular you'd like to see an unorthodox build for, let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can make for you. But until then, be on your way.